pumpkin based tasting?
I never do.
Okay, the, big hand is on the 12th, and little hand's on the 7th. That means it's time for our monthly meeting of the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency for the month of April. And I would ask that our secretary call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hopper?
Here.
Commissioner Porter?
Here.
Commissioner Warwick? Here. Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Here. We have a full commission for the business of the month, and as I always ask, is there any conflict of interest for anyone that is on the council tonight for any agenda items that are posted? Hearing none, that takes us to special presentations, of which I'm not aware of any special presentations. I think we have some presentations in the agenda tonight. And so that then takes us to public comments. Is there anyone that would like to address the agency this evening? And it doesn't appear that we have any, so that will take us to the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion for disposition of this month's consent calendar.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Porter.
I would move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
It's been moved to approve the consent calendar. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Warwick. Any discussion on consent calendar? Would the secretary call the roll, please?
Porter?
Yes.
Warwick?
Yes.
Wagner?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Hawkins?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Okay, the consent calendar has been approved, which takes us to old business. This first item on old business is to consider the recommendation from the City of Caldwell Development Team concerning the approval of the request for proposal regarding the property located at Kimball and Arthur in downtown Caldwell. And Mr. Hilty, Mr. Jenkins. There you go, Mr. Jenkins.
Here, I'd like to pass this memorandum to you all.
I mean, it's.
Hold on.
Okay.
Come on.
I'd like to make these interesting for
That's a super secret third wire, yeah. We're plugged in now.
All right, I think we're all plugged in now. Good to go. All right. Well, greetings, Chairman, Commissioners, everyone here tonight. It's good to see everyone in person and live. Over the past few weeks, staff has deliberated on the proposals we received on the Arthur and Kimball site. As an overview, we received 2 qualifying proposals at that location. The first proposal was provided by Alvin Vine, and they're a retailer based out of Ada County. Great group. They proposed their proposal features an outdoor courtyard, second-story views of the plaza, and a brewery, all encompassed in a unique open layout. And then the second proposal we received is from the Caldwell Legacy Group. And in this group, they had the first floor retail, and then they had an anchor restaurant or brewery on the first floor as well. And it also showcases 6 units on the upper level with rooftop patios. And staff has we've reviewed these proposals very carefully in an effort to ensure we had all the details necessary to make a firm recommendation. We wanted to invite both groups to Caldwell to present their proposals to give us more insight on their development plan and the project and really the scope of what they were intending to do at that site. This meeting included 4 city staff members along with our mayor and 2 community members. So during these presentations, each applicant provided a general overview of the project. They also gave us some development updates, and they also provided some timelines for their proposed construction dates and things that go into the project. So after contemplating both designs, staff would like to recommend the Caldwell Legacy Group's proposal at this time for this project. The proposal uniquely includes the adjacent parcels, 117 South Kimball Avenue, 115 South Kimball Avenue, and 113 South Kimball Avenue, and provides an opportunity to develop the entire lot. We would like to see this project develop as soon as possible with the appropriate construction deadline set within the development agreement. And city staff would like to recommend the establishment of an exclusive negotiation period with the Caldwell Legacy Group at this time. And with that, I will stand for any questions that you all may have.
Any questions from the commission for staff? The aspects of recommendation? Yes, ma'am. You're good? Okay. So the, action before us would be to, approve the moving forward with, either the staff's recommendation or the other proposal, to direct, staff to prepare the DDA with the, group that goes forward, and to, have an exclusive negotiation period with that group, to, solidify the design and the timeline. Anything else, Mr. Hilty, that we need to have in that motion?
No, I think that'll do it. If there are other issues that you'd like to have considered in that DDA for negotiation purposes, like a construction timeline that differs from what's proposed in the RFP response, or any other factors that you'd like us to explore as staff with the developer in that DDA process, now would be a good time to let me know. But I think as far as the motion goes, that's adequate.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Wagner? Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I apologize, I can't see the video, I'm on Zoom, and so I apologize, Mr. Wagner, I did not mean to interrupt you. Just again, from a staff report, before you make the motion, there's a couple things that I would like to just put out for your consideration. One of the things that we always are concerned about, that should be discussed, I believe, during the DDA, is financing, make sure that financing is available, and that we have a definite timeline. One of the things that we have struggled with in the past is, with some of these proposals is, and I don't mean that's the case this time, I'm not insinuating that. But as you know, with the hotel in the past and whatever else, one of the things we ran into difficulty on was trying to obtain financing after the fact. Now, in this case, the legacy groups assures us that they do have financing, but I think we should just clarify that, make sure that staff clarifies the financing and clarifies the time frame, because we are running short on time. The dissolution of the revenue allocation area begins less than a year from now, so we need to make sure that through that process, we are assured that this project will begin and move forward before we start that dissolution. The other thing that I do want you to know that I do appreciate is Olive and Vine is a very good proposal, but because of the being able to use the entire block, as Mr. Jenkins said, we all felt that the legacy group had a stronger proposal. But just for your information, Mr. Jenkins did tell me that the people who have from the legacy group have committed to contacting Olive and Vine and see if there's a way that they might be able to incorporate them into their development, because the legacy group has room for a couple of anchors there, and I know we've been discussing seriously with a couple of major anchors that would be there, but I think that also Olive and Vine might be able to work. So that's just a comment, but I would think that, and that certainly cannot be included in the DDA. I just wanted the commission to know that. But we do recommend the legacy group, but if you would please instruct staff, I think it's very important that we clarify the timeline and the financing during the exclusive right to negotiate.
Any objection from commission members that that is included in the assignment for the DDA, as well as, I think, strict adherence to the timeline? Mr. Wagner.
Thank you. And I have no problem going after the mayor, so no worries there, Mr. Mayor, in regards to that. So, I just wanted to get it on the record. As you may have looked through the packet, and as the good chairman noted at our last meeting, there's a wonderful picture of my wife in this. I'm included. I'm guessing there's included because my wife is so beautiful, not me. But I do rent from Jenkins, and our business was highlighted in that proposal. I discussed that with the attorney. Just want to make sure there's no conflict of interest whatsoever. There's no financial gain on my part in regards to this. So I just want to make sure that that is on the record, that we did look into that, discuss that, and I will vote freely on this one, knowing that again, no financial gain, no influence whatsoever in that. So, that sound good, Mr. Hilty?
Yes, Commissioner Wagner, we did have that conversation early on, when this, RP was being reviewed. That is exactly what I advised you. I don't see conflict of interest here. I think you're free to, participate in this. The question, I think, is whether you look better with beard or without beard. And perhaps the judgment of the proposer.
My wife says better with, I don't get a shave. She said, no, don't do it, so.
Well, I'd go with that. That's probably wise.
Yeah.
Based on your recent performance, Mr. Hilty, you can't decide whether you look better or without. Don't inflict that on anyone else.
I did what my wife told me to do. I'm with Commissioner Wagner on this all the way.
All right, very smart. And, real quick, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make a motion, in regards to, agreeing with staff and their recommendation, and then also with the mayor's comments to make sure that we do clarify very precisely a timeline, the finance as well, those regards, so that we know. And I guess also with the timeline, you know, are there any, if they missed some of those, what are some of the possible ramifications, things like that. And that would be my motion.
Very good. Then moved by Mr. Wagner to accept staff's recommendation and move forward with the legacy group.
Second.
Second by, Ms. Warwick. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to say that I'm very happy that this local group got together and did this. Not only do they already have some skin in the game, but they're all Caldwell people and can't get any better than that. I'm very happy to see all of them get this. This is, again, just another good thing for Caldwell.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, discussion items? If not, I'd ask our secretary to call the roll, please.
Wagner,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes.
Porter.
Yes.
Warwick.
Yes.
Okay, I think you have, your decision in hand, and, let's move forward and make it happen. Thank you, gentlemen, and I appreciate staff's, efforts on this one for sure.
Thank you.
I guess Mr. Fultz is gonna go next, even though you have the podium. You didn't have to relinquish it. We'll go with Mr. Fultz's, economic development report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and, Commissioners, quick, report, and, please excuse my physical absence. I've got a couple of, physical issues I'm trying to deal with right now, but, anyway, I thank you for this opportunity. Continue to work with the Wolf Development Group. They are, well underway now of construction of their second building, that 265,000 square foot building off of, Smead Parkway and, kind of back behind their other 87,000 square foot building. The 87,000 square foot building is now completely occupied, and, they are, beginning again construction, of this, new building. So that should be coming up here out of the ground fairly quickly, I believe. I continue to work, Mr. Jenkins and I, on a host of, other type of upcoming site visits, and we've had some already, that have occurred over the last, few weeks, and I anticipate that we're gonna have a few more coming up here very, very soon. So it continues to be a very active market for us, on the industrial end, warehouse and distribution. Interestingly enough, today I actually had a call from a group, that's looking at a 129,000 square foot, building. At first I thought it was speculation, but as I understand it from today's conversation, there is an end user that would be occupying that full 129,000 square feet. But, I'll address that later on in my report, as I do it today. Again, Mr. Jenkins and I are working with a developer. I'm listing it as Project Simon. Mr. Jenkins may have it under something else, but I'm sure he knows what I'm talking about, where they are looking at a commercial residential development opportunity in downtown. They've looked at some sites that include a little bit of bare ground, that would be, on the other side of 10th Avenue. They're looking at an existing building in downtown Caldwell right now for their growth and expansion model. Working with an industrial developer, user, 25,000 square foot building at North Ranch. I think we have scheduled for this Thursday a roundtable with that group. They seem extremely serious about this. I think it's basically two buildings that they're going to be putting up, totaling 25,000+ square feet. Again, an end user, and as I mentioned earlier, the leads just keep on coming in, and, we just keep on working with them to make sure that, we try to secure as many of these businesses as we can as they fit into the Caldwell model. Working with a developer considering acquisition of a large parcel in Caldwell. This is one of the sites that we showed to a project recently. This is a local developer that has traditionally not gotten into the industrial field, but seems to be looking at something like that at this point. So they're looking at some sites that, at this point, the primary site that they're looking at is actually just outside the urban renewal district. We could potentially be looking at a second or separate district for this site as they continue to move forward with this possibility. So they themselves would be looking at occupying a considerable amount of that space for their own use, and could be looking at anywhere from 50 to 70 acres that they might have available for another business to come in. Project White continues to be on my agenda, and on my project list. I have reached out to them on 3 separate occasions over the last month and have not heard back. That again is McCain Foods, and I know that they do quite a bit of travel, and so sometimes chasing them down becomes a little bit of a challenge, but I'm wanting to stay diligent and trying to reach out to them and see where they are in the progress that they're planning to make on this site. As a quick side note, as you recall, you did in fact extend their time to begin construction on the 20 acres that we sold to them a couple of years ago. We did sell that property at a rate of, I think it was $2 a foot for that 20 acres. Most recent reports are showing industrial property in Canyon County, the average cost of that is now about $4.31 a foot. So I think that they would want to take full advantage of that site and not lose that site based on the appreciation we've seen on that property. Worked with potential tap room establishment that was looking at the downtown. Spent quite a bit of time on that. So that one, it looks like that one may just actually fizzle away for time being. I think they were looking at a site that would be on the, basically across the street from the Creekside Development area. And so it's one of those that may be coming back as we get closer to Creekside breaking ground and moving forward with their development there. Project Rec, an athletic facility that they're looking at. Again, this group's out of Portland, Oregon. I continue to work with them. They still have a strong desire of looking at a site that would be in the urban renewal area, an area that would be in proximity to Sky Ranch, or within Sky Ranch, proximity to the industrial as well as Highway 2026 and 84. Seems to be a very appealing location for them. Continue working with Church Valley Community College on the development of their aircraft maintenance facility. Again, I want to thank Carol Mitchell and Brent Orton and Rob Oates as we've worked through and continue to put together our ideas and concepts on a lease. I think we're pretty much right there at this point, ready to go forward with that. So we're excited about that program getting up and in operation. And yeah, as I've stated in past meetings, this would be the really kind of the closest such operation in the area. The next closest is going to be in Pocatello at Idaho State University. So let's continue to move forward with this. Working with commercial realtor from Boise on light industrial use or needing additional space. They're considering East Caldwell. Project Mill I have listed as. They too are looking at hoping to find some space to build a 100,000 plus square foot facility for, again, a user that's currently in the valley. They're not in Caldwell, and they've outgrown their current facility, and they would like to be in the Caldwell market. Continue working with Eisenberg and their broker on the development of their lot at Steam Parkway. The one I mentioned earlier, the 129,000 square foot building, that's this particular size. So where I have listed in my report 135,000, it has actually shrunk slightly to 129,000 square feet. And it appears that we're able to secure this business that would be a single user that would be at that site. A type of industry I think that we would all be very, very happy to see and very proud to have at that site. So, they are planning a site visit on the 27th of April. And so look forward to, meeting with them and bringing back more information, next month's meeting. Business retention call, capital distributing and others, as we continue to work with Idaho Department of Labor and their situation on trying to find jobs, not trying to find jobs, trying to find people to fill jobs, in that area. I did notice that Fresca Mexican Food, which I mentioned, I think last month, they have actually secured a billboard or two that they are advertising to try to get employers there. So that continues to be the challenge, and, we're looking at working with, the Idaho Manufacturers Alliance, Chamber of Commerce, and several others to see how we can do in an effort, in a joint effort to try to keep people maybe from taking that trip to Boise in the morning and finding employment right here in Caldwell. And then we've had a discussion with developers considering opportunities for multifamily housing in the urban renewal district, and that's been several sites we've been taking a look at, and varying sites from a small apartment complex to some fairly large ones. So housing demand continues to be there, multifamily housing continues to be in great demand, so we continue to work with them. So that is my report for this month. If there's any questions, I'm happy to address. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Fultz? Mr. Fultz, I just have one real quick question. I presume on the Project White site, there's been, absolutely no activity, or any kind of preparation at this point, that you've seen?
Mr. Chairman, to my knowledge, there has not been, other than, they going out and mowing last summer and moving some dirt around, basically for clearing the lot, of weeds. I've not seen any other, activity. I also put in a call to their engineer that we had worked with, and I've not heard back from them to see where we are in design. Again, going back last summer, I did see some preliminary designs of the building, the layout on the lot, but I've not seen or heard anything on that since that time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fultz.
Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Jenkins with your economic development report.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Good to see you all again. Start off with Project Radio. This is a group that was looking at Caldwell prior to the pandemic and very seriously considering a site. Unfortunately, had to withdraw from their consideration just due to the pandemic, but now they're back online and they're looking for a location downtown. I've had some correspondence with this group. They're locally owned and operated, fast casual operation. So they'd be a great group and a great fit for Caldwell. So that was exciting news to be able to reignite those conversations. And Project Leather, this is a retail user out of Oregon. They create unique handcrafted leather goods. They're visiting our area next week. They are looking at 2 sites downtown, and we're optimistic that they'll move forward pretty quickly. So they're actually looking to relocate here and get their operation started as soon as possible. So very good group, and we're excited to welcome another strong retailer that offers unique products for Caldwell. The Salvation Army, many of you have probably seen the sign for sale in front of their building. They are not leaving Caldwell. They're just looking to relocate. They're looking to retrofit another building or to actually build a new facility. And as far as I know, I think their building's under contract currently. I know they've been working with a few groups on the sale of that building, so there's been some activity there. So I've been working with Major Robin Bergeo over there and just talking about different options for the Salvation Army and what that looks like in the future. And they have some plans that they hope to get started as soon as possible. But it's just good news that there's some interest in that building. Project Pellet, this is a retail group that I spoke to you all about last month, and they are looking for a 15 to 20 acre site. They're moving forward. They've actually they've had some renderings done for a site out in the Sky Ranch area. And as I told you before, they only want to be in Caldwell, so looks like we have a home run set here for us. And the good news is that they're moving forward with their plan. So they've been working with the developers out at North Ranch as well on the site that's out there. Project Aspire, this is a multifamily developer. They're looking at a 5 acre parcel in Sky Ranch to bring the community some much needed housing. And they're hoping to break ground this summer. So things have been moving really quickly on that one. So I'm optimistic to see the development of that take form very soon. Project Band, this is the development group from the East Coast. They've taken an interest in Caldwell. they're interested in the forthcoming RFP on the Main Street properties that Urban Renewal is under ownership of. And, they also are looking at other opportunities to develop downtown. Steve Foltz and I had an opportunity to visit with a representative from this group, about a month ago. And I've had some conversations with this individual, and he's very excited about Caldwell and Treasure Valley as a whole. Project Grill, we're working with a local group that would like to open a sports bar downtown. They're interested in 2 locations near the plaza, and they want to be open for business in the fall. And in talking to this group earlier today, they are looking more closely at this summer. So they're moving very quickly on their plans. And then the next slew of projects are just projects that we've worked on. These are kind of manufacturing-based projects. The first one's Project Rollout. This is the BVEP lead. They're looking at a North Ranch site, and they're looking for 30 acres for a new facility. And then the other one is Project Timber, another manufacturer in Caldwell. They're actually looking to expand, and they're working with a landowner near the airport. And Project Emerald, this is a manufacturer. They're seeking 80 acres in our area, and they're looking at the Boise area, and they're interested in the site in East Caldwell. And then Project Imagine, this is a large manufacturer looking at a Caldwell property for a regional operation. And just with these projects, I just want to highlight the fact that many of these groups have taken an interest in the North Caldwell area. So as we look at the next allocation area, we feel very optimistic that there will be some strong activity out there. So as we kind of get closer to get low on our capacity or adequate land options here, we feel confident that the North Caldwell will provide additional manufacturing land for us. And then I've been working with a data center consultant for future data center locations in our area. These representatives are expected to visit Caldwell actually later this month, and they're interested in 3 large sites ranging from Sky Ranch to North Caldwell. And then downtown updates, renovations are being conducted currently for the Paddles Up Pokey downtown, as many of you all have seen. This is at 712 Arthur Street. And then Spectacles Optical Boutique, they'll be opening, looks like early in May. And the space there looks great. They've done a great job with that location, and I'm really optimistic that she'll hit the ground running and get things going there quickly and opening up soon. So we're excited to welcome Spectacles to downtown Caldwell soon. And with that concludes my report, unless there are any questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Jenkins? Letting you off easy tonight. Thank you. Takes us to new business. Item number 1 is to consider our invoices for payment for the month of April. Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. I have before you a request to approve this month's accounts payable in the amount of $111,636.98, made up of the following invoices. The monthly economic development support of $18,000, our annual admin fee for engineering and accounting services of $8,000, our monthly legal services for $6,500, our trustee fees for bonds 06, 08, and 18 in the amount of $5,500. Our BIG payment for Syringa, this is BIG payment number 6 for October through December, $13,750. We had an overpayment from Mr. Rosas over in the Cleveland Event Center. We invoiced him on March 1, and we did our RFP with Mr. Muscle, and so then that closed on March 10th. So we had to do an adjustment and owed him $100. So that's what that's $100 for. Coastal Constructors, this is their final BIG payment. This is for January through March. This is $25,000. And then we have 2 payments to Cushing Tarot, one in the amount of $7,475. That's for February, and another one for $1,085, and that is for the month of March. And that is for the services that they're doing here on Arthur Street that we're also calling Festival Street. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? If not, I entertain a motion for approval of the invoices for the month of April.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Allgood, second by Mr. Porter. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The invoices are approved. approved. And Ms. Mitchell, we have a ratification of a previous payment.
We do. This is for ratification to Pioneer Title. This is for the closing at 711 Cleveland Street. This is in the amount of $2,788.86. And those are the closing costs tied to that building.
Any questions, for the Pioneer Title? And I entertain a motion for ratification of that invoice payment. So, moved by Mr. Ramirez.
Second.
Second by Ms. Warwick. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that's approved as well. Okay, your treasurer's report on the cash reconciliation report.
Absolutely. We're going to start in that box and we'll move our way up. So for the month of March, we had $13,552,869.83 in the following three accounts. $116,522.38 in the LGIP account, $250,380.49 in the Banner Bank CD, and then in your operating account with Banner Bank, $13,185,966.96. That operating account breaks down into the following categories. We have what's restricted for other taxing district projects of $9,498,920.84. Our Caldwell City projects for $2,141,474.30. Our restricted rental income from TVCC of $739,278.11. And then our, what we refer to as job creation or our land account of $806,293.71. And I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Mitchell on the cash report? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the cash reconciliation report for April. Moved by Mr. Porter.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramirez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. And our budget meetings have been set, Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, you have the calendar before you tonight. Our budget meeting is scheduled for 6 o'clock. It's going to be a workshop on Monday, July 12th here in this room at 6. And then that same evening at 7 o'clock, we will then present the budget to you and then call for a public hearing to be held as well.
And Ms. Mitchell,
Budget meeting.
I also know that the city council will be considering a lot of the projects that are on our list for funding that involve URA dollars. I think it would be great if you could send out to commission the budget hearing that night, just to make sure that they are aware and can attend if they choose to see what the city's requests are for the next year.
Okay.
Great.
So you want the calendar for our budget workshops? Is that
Well,
what you want, or do you want the?
So there's usually there's the project budget workshop for the city council that we go through. It involves where the funding is coming from, and a lot of that is a URA. I just want to make sure that if any of the commission members want to attend that they are aware of that date. So
Okay.
that's
Well, I will get that date, because I think it's already been set as well for city council.
I think so, but I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not sure which one it is.
I think it's going to be in June, but I'll get the exact date.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much. Any questions about the budget meetings or any other items for Ms. Mitchell? All right, we're good to go. Thank you. Mr. Hilty, we've got your reports coming up now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, good evening, Commissioners. With respect to the Caldwell North area, we continue to work on this at the staff level. This morning in our economic team meeting, I was tasked with scheduling a meeting specifically on that topic either later this week or next week, so that we can look at the issues involved in kind of starting that process formally again. As you know, urban renewal agencies relate back to the baseline assessment for January 1 of the year in which they're formed. So we're looking at finishing this process by the end of 2021 if we decide to go forward. Given the pressure that we're getting for good quality industrial economic development that you hear from Steve and Stephen, we think it's likely that this is a wise move to keep Caldwell competitive and keep this momentum going. Certainly in the north area that we talked about a couple of years ago, but also with respect to, you heard, Mr. Foltz mention a separate district for a specific piece of property. We'll be looking at that this week and next week as well. One or both of those, this is me speaking, I think likely to go forward, this year. What that means from a timing standpoint is we would be working on, primarily the feasibility study, the infrastructure and project plan that goes along with those new, revenue allocation and project areas. And then, coming, at some point to get the kind of a head nod and presumably a resolution from this body to proceed. But as you might recall, the first formal step is to go to the city council and have the city council declare that the area is in need of urban renewal because of its current, condition. The council's already done that with respect to properties in North Caldwell, the North, Caldwell urban renewal area that was considered a couple of years ago. The boundaries on that are likely to change a little bit from what was there before. So we will be tweaking that study. And again, the thing that threw us a curve was the expense of bringing utilities in. So that's something that we continue to look at pretty closely. So that'll be a little bit different than what it was before. Much of what has been done is going to be helpful and useful in moving forward. From a timing standpoint, I would be looking for city council action on a declaration concerning the property condition about the 1st of September, maybe the first meeting in September. That then gives us the timing to get the rest of the steps to fall into place before the end of the year. So that's what we're looking at with respect to those new areas. Probably will continue to just have updates for you for some time, but then at some point in the summer, we'll have a resolution. And again, I'm guessing as this kind of comes into focus and takes shape. On the Wellco property, as a reminder, and I think I reported on this last month, I talked to Rick. The last time I talked to him, he sent an email. He said that he had taken all the tests that he needed on that property and had received back all the lab analysis. He needed then to assemble that information into a report to DEQ. And sorry, the Wellco property, I think you know, is the parking lot adjacent to the Cleveland Event Center that the agency has an option to purchase. That property ultimately would be dedicated parking for the Cleveland Event Center itself. So Rick is at the point where he needs to assemble the data into a report to DEQ. He said that would take several weeks to do. He told me that several weeks ago, and I emailed him last Monday. I texted him today. I'm continuing to try to reach out to him. I know he's busy, and I know he's had some non-work related things that have taken him away from the office this spring. But I got my thumb in his back, and I'm trying to get some progress on that. I think next week we decided as a team we'd start to look at what alternatives we have. If it looks like maybe this is going to continue to drag and not move forward. But stay tuned. The option expires in February of 2022, so we're not up against a time frame on the exercise of the option. And frankly, it'd be very nice to have Rick resolve this issue prior to the transaction. So we're going to kind of continue, at least for now, to leave space for the best thing to happen. But if it's not moving forward, we'll have to reassess. By reassess, I mean exercise the option and deal with it ourselves. I don't mean walk away from it. We're certainly not going to do that. On the Creekside development, I had hoped that we would have a DDA before you tonight. I think both sides have worked diligently on that, and we were not able to get to the finish line. It is, and you've seen recently a simplified DDA for the Cleveland Event Center property. The size and scope of the project is such that we just need something with a little more detail. We've got a document that's probably 75 pages long. It's got 9 different exhibits. We just need some more time. We are getting close. And I talked to the chairman last Wednesday. It became apparent to me at that point that we were not going to get it done unless we really rushed it. I was advising against that. The other side didn't want to rush it either. And so I let Rob know that we might be asking for a special meeting. I know we've of course got our thumb in their backs too about getting dirt moving. So we want to move as quickly as we can, but we need a good quality DDA. So balancing those two things, I'm going to ask for some discussion of a special meeting time, probably 2 weeks out. I think rather than waiting an entire month, we could do that if you'd like. But again, you know, we're the ones that have been digging in the spurs on them to get to the point where they can start building. So that's, certainly up to you as commissioners, but the request from me, I guess, is that maybe we pick a time to have a special meeting on just this one item, sometime between now and your next regular meeting in May.
So 2 weeks out would be April 26th, Monday night. Is that a good date for folks? Not a council night, you know. Good here, good there.
Good for me.
Good. Would you prefer 6 or 7?
Either way.
Either way? We've got too many retired people on this board, obviously. Just can be here at 6. Is that better, 6 o'clock?
Sure.
Let's do that. 6 o'clock on April 26th.
Thank you, and I apologize, we weren't quite there, but, this is something we want to get done right, absolutely. A couple items, if I could, that aren't on the agenda. I'm sorry, Debbie, I should have let you know. She did confirm with me my report, and I didn't give these things to her. On the Cleveland Event Center, I talked to Mike Mussel this afternoon to get an update on that project, and I liked what I heard, and I think you're gonna like it too. He said that, the roofing is done and the entire outside is sealed, the bricks and the windows. He has ordered $100,000 in new windows, he said, for starters. They comply with the design review process, which has been completed. Those will arrive in about 10 weeks. That was the lead time on them, which isn't surprising, I think, in this market. He has purchased all of the exterior stone that was approved by design review. That'll arrive in approximately 1 month. He's done a lot of work on what he calls the venue portion, and I'm not as familiar with the building because I've been inside it as you might be. I said, what is that? He said, there's kind of a basement area where they've had events before. And he said that is largely completed. And he said really what was necessary there was cosmetic type stuff. He cambered all of the sewer lines. He said those were fine, but he's replaced all the tile in the bathrooms. He's redone the inside walls. And that, the kinds of things he did, for the most part, didn't need permits. And again, were mostly cosmetic, but he anticipates having events there within the next month, in at least that portion of the building. So he does have a tenant that is interested in a 5-year lease on, again, what he calls the venue or the events portion of that. Let's see. He also has, he said, a handful, his words, of tenants that are anxious regarding the outside locations, and then also some of the inside. The major part of the work, of course, is going to be, he's already underway with the exterior, that's the windows and the stone and so forth. On the inside, the 2 primary floors are going to be the heavy lift on the reconstruction. That is with the architect right now. They're working on constructing or reconstructing the elevator, and so forth. He did say this I thought was interesting. He said, as they were working in that venue area, he found a tube that was stuffed inside some of the joists. Inside the tube, he found 8 to 12 certificates, and they were a handwritten identification of apparently the owners who were involved in the original construction of that building. He plans to frame those and find some place to display them inside the finished building, but he's pretty excited about the history there. And clearly, if you've been in he found a lot of that stuff. He redid the Masonic Temple building in Nampa, found all kinds of things that had been stuffed in the walls and hidden in the floorboards, and he's built display cases for that, in that building. And then he said, he's had people contacting him to talk about concerts that they went to there and the kind of bands that were there back in the day, and apparently it was a going concern at some point. So he's clearly excited about this project and the history of the building. He wants to kind of showcase that as he goes forward. So I thought that was neat to hear. The other thing, Madam Secretary, is I told him to plan on attending the meeting in May, which is consistent with his DDA, to come and give his own report to you about the progress to that point. He was perfectly willing to do thing I have, this is something that came up in connection with, working on the DDA for Creekside. Dean Pepe was aware that we acquired the property across the street and that we're about to issue an RFP. He was asking about whether the agency would consider a hotel at that location, and he's clearly concerned about his requirement to develop a hotel and concerned about a competing hotel. I told him that I would raise it with the economic team, which I did this morning, you know, and I think, you know, Rob raised some legitimate concerns about, you know, whether we want to get in the middle of free market competition. The mayor responded with, what I would consider to be sort of a soft compromise, not compromise, but a position that, you know, maybe we could suggest in the RFP that, look, we're gonna consider uses there that will complement existing uses in downtown or planned uses in downtown. And I wanna be clear, I get that from Mr. Pepe's perspective, he doesn't wanna have a competing hotel going up across the street, you know, given the tenuous nature of some of the previous hotel studies. I don't think that's our concern, and I wouldn't recommend that we think about it in those terms. Our concern is economic redevelopment, revitalization, and having two hotels that were going gangbusters downtown would be fantastic. Having one that's going gangbusters downtown would be fantastic. Having two that are competing with each other and struggling is not what we want to see. That doesn't mean that we would craft the RFP to eliminate hotels, but I think if we can do something that suggests that they need to understand what would be compatible and complementary with respect to that. So I talked to Stephen about that. He and I are both kind of looking for your direction on that, but we'd like to probably propose some language that, at least to a certain extent, suggests that those complementary uses. Any concern with us working on that language? Again, you'd have to see it approved before it went out anyway.
Okay.
Or any thoughts on that in general?
Mr. Hilton, would you clarify which piece of property you're speaking of right now?
Yeah, you bet. If you look on the map, you see what we call the 6th Street Plaza. It's got that circular structure right there. That's the old 6th Street right away. It is still right of way, but it's closed. So to the southeast, right there, is the site for the hotel that the Chase would be responsible for building in phase 2 of the Creekside development. Across the street to the northwest are the properties that Mr. Jenkins already prepared a draft RFP for that property and the Bennett Machine property adjacent to it. And really the question that's being asked is just simply, could there possibly be another hotel there? And how is that problematic for Creekside?
Will those two parcels be one RFP, RFQ?
Yeah, that's the plan. They don't have to be, but that's kind of, I think, what we're gonna recommend from the staff side.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Hilton? Looks like you're good. You already know that we closed on the Caldwell Event Center, last month. That was kind of what my big news was. But I do, if you've never been in that building, it is an amazing building. There's actually 3 levels to it. Each of the levels has a event ballroom, so to speak, in varying capacities. So it's just really interesting that I'm anxious to hear Mr. Russell's report and see what he's doing with it, because it had great potential and was an amazing structure, and modernizing it is a good thing for us. Any commission reports? Anything anybody wants to report on to it?
I don't have a report, but I do have a request.
Mr. Orman?
We've got like a dozen projects at minimum in the works, and we're coming down to the end of our timeline here. We're getting ready to sunset. At some point in the near future, I would love to see kind of a financial forecast and a project forecast So we know.
Imagine that.
So we know what we're looking at as we're doing these things.
We actually had a meeting about the URA properties and the URA funding that's available in the next few years, just today. So I know Mrs. Mitchell does have a spreadsheet that she could share with us, and I would say probably for the May meeting, let's put that on the calendar and we can sort of walk through what that looks like.
So are you here for the May or is that Brent? The May meeting, Brent? So we'll pull up that shared spreadsheet so I can go. So, yeah, we can go through that spreadsheet, that I have, that I keep tracking. We are now meeting on a monthly basis, myself, Brent and Rob, and, Chairman Hopper, as well as the mayor, so that we are, talking and staying on track with the projects and making sure that what the projects we have identified are the projects that we're going to see through to the end. We're right now at a point where, pretty much all the projects are absorbing, what we are predicting to be a future, finance increment, resource of funding coming in, and making sure that no other projects get added on as Mr. Hilty had said, that we are gonna be working on our sunset, log as well as our letters and whatnot to put together those projects, so.
Yeah, if you're concerned about leaving any money on the table with the retirement,
Well,
it doesn't appear that that's gonna be a
I'm
problem for us.
I'm less concerned about that than making sure we have enough money at the end of our project.
And,
But does that spreadsheet kind of have a ending forecast, financial forecast kind of idea? Does it? Wonderful. That's kind of what I'm interested in, yes. I want to make sure we're meeting the obligations we sign up for.
Yeah.
there is a
As long as-
contingency in that funding so that if things do run over the top, we can cover it.
Right, and as long as the legislature leaves it alone and we can continue with projections.
Thank you, appreciate it.
That's happening a lot, but, yeah. Okay, anything from this side of the table? Well, there's only one action left for the commission to do then.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Ramirez.
That we adjourn for the evening. Oh, really?
Moved by Mr. Ramirez,
Second.
second by Mr. Algen, even though he was reluctantly wondering if we should be
So much fun.
adjourning. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're done. Thank you.